Hi, welcome back to Mini Armies and the first painting guide. Here we'll show you the steps when I painted a little 15mm dwarf. Now, it's the first 15mm model I painted. Just applied simple techniques of basing and layering and stuff. Most of the paints, in fact pretty much all of them that I've used are Citadel paints because they're the ones that I've got around half pots of. And they go on pretty well anyway. I'm used to their colour scheme. Obviously you can use any paint you want, look up a conversion chart or something. If you want to follow my guide, if you like the look of it, please leave comments and see what you think. But it's a quick painting. So we start with our plain metal mini, blue tack to the top of an old Citadel paint pot, clean him up a little bit. There's no flash at all, and on this sort of scale you're really not going to notice that much. Most people don't bother cleaning him up. I did give him a bath in a bit of soapy water and let him dry, so he's all nice and clean and ready for primer. So here he is, sprayed off in Citadel Chaos Black. You can use any other primer I suppose that will go on metal minis. I just had a can to hand. The first part of the miniature that I painted was his face in Cadian Flesh Tone. Just remembering to water your paint down a little bit to make it run nice and smooth. On top of the Cadian Flesh Tone, I've added a thin wash of Agrax Earthshade just to shade those details and the eyes. I've highlighted the face with a 50-50 mix of Cadian Flesh Tone and matte white to create quite a strong highlight. Hopefully on a 15mm model on the tabletop you'll still be able to see these. Every great dwarf needs a great beard, and I've base coated this one in Eshin Grey. Next I've base coated all the metal pits in Lead Belcher. A quick wash of Nuln Oil helps to just bring that shading to the beard and to the metal parts. The beard is then highlighted with Dawnstone. You could add a further lighter highlight to this, but because it's a 15mm model and I'm looking for a relatively quick process, I think it looks good enough. The metal parts have been highlighted with Rimfang just on the tips. A base coat of Scrag Brown has been applied to his underrobes. Now, it looks quite bright, but all the reading I've done on painting 15mm is to make sure you use lighter colours than you perhaps normally would, as because on the tabletop they'll show up better. I've base coated his robe in Corn Red to provide a good base for bringing up the colour later on. Now I've painted his hands and his boots. His boots are painted in Gothoil Brown. I'm going to use the same process on the hands, on the skin, so I'll be washing it with Agrax and a little bit of Agrax on the boots as well. Just painted his hair now with the same method as the beard. I've given his tunic a coat of wild flesh, and all those parts of his robe have now been washed down with Agrax Earthshade. Now it's just a case of adding some layers of colour over the to raise the colour on his robes. The first thing was a layer of Warboss Green on his tunic, Mephiston Red on the red parts of his robes. I've also reapplied Scrag Brown to the raised parts of his underrobes, and also used a little bit of a highlight on his skin tones with that 50-50 mix of Cadian Flesh Tone and matte white. And here he is, finished. Apart from the basing, which I'll base later because units in Mighty Armies, which this little guy is going to be part of the command unit, I based maybe 3 or 4 models to a base. Also, I think those contrasting highlights, very strong ones, look quite good now we start to move away. Remember, this is a very, very high definition camera that I've taken these shots with, so it may look a little severe. But looking at him on the table, you can start to see that those contrasting highlights really work well. I'm quite pleased with this model. It's the first 15mm model I've ever painted,